solid dice selection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have her on a stream in the near future, and maybe we can all do a joint stream because we're going to do a fun activity today that I think we're going to want to revisit for sure in the near future, and maybe some gameplay as well. So stay tuned, everybody in the chat. We're going to give you a chance to kind of join in and collaborate with us as well when we get to that point. We're going to be trying out some of your favorite Dark Horse characters and seeing how they might look as a D&D character. So stay tuned for that coming up in a few. A few more housekeeping notes before we move on. Again, those digital sales, check those out. All the comics and books I'm going to talk about today are also available happily at your local comic shops now and bookstores. So please check with your local comic shops to see what they're offering right now. Many are stepping up to do online orders, give them a call, see if they're doing curbside pickup. Please check with your local retailers first and support local shops if you can, bookstores as well. All of our graphic novels and art books are, of course, available at both types of shops. So we have comicshoplocator.com and also indiebound.org that can help you find retailers near you. And without further ado, I'm excited to announce that we are going to have new releases this week. So first,
Yay!
I know they're back, single issues. It's been, I mean, it hasn't really been that long, but it feels like a long time. And a quick reminder, too, that nothing has been canceled. Everything has been put on hiatus. So everything's kind of on hold until things even out. We don't want to overwhelm stores, with lots of comics all at once either. So we're trying to roll these out in a way that is safe and feasible for everybody. So even if you don't see a new release date quite yet for things like Stranger Things is a common question, we will announce those as soon as we can. So this week, we're excited to have Bang #1. This is the third printing of this single issue #1. It was so popular that it had not one, not two, but now 3 printings. Today's release, the cover is by David Rubin, who you may remember. He has worked with Matt Kindt before, who is, of course, the writer on this series. They worked together on Ether, which is another excellent series that I can't recommend highly enough. Matt Kindt, of course, is known for many things. At Dark Horse specifically, that includes Ether, Mind Management, Department H, and now Bang, as well as some others like the young adult book Poppy. All of them are fantastic. We're going to be featuring all of them this week and especially highlighting Bang. So if you didn't get a chance to check Bang out the first time around because it sold out, now it's available again. So check out this variant cover by David Rubin. That's what we're showing in the stream right now. Also in single issues, we have Kill Whitey Donovan #5, which is actually the conclusion of this miniseries. This miniseries, if you have been sleeping on it, seriously pick it up. All 5 issues will now be available, and your shop might still have the first 4 back issues. There's always one variant cover for each. The writer on this is Sydney Duncan, and the artist is Natalie Barahona. This is their first foray into comics, but they have been known for some other works, and we're pretty excited because this may become something that you see developed for a series that's live action in the near future. So stay tuned for more information on that, but that was actually part of the announcement when this series first came up. So Natalie Barahona does the variant covers for this. The main covers are by Jason Pearson, and it's a Civil War historic fiction. These 2 women are kind of teaming up on it's more complicated than it sounds, but on a quest for revenge, basically. So it's a really, really well-told story, and this is the concluding issue of it. Issue #5 brings the arc to a close, and then we will see a collected trade, of course, later on. My cat is really excited about this, and he's trying to bust in, so please don't knock over all my dice, Rex. He's probably going to come sit in my dice tray, actually.
It is his destiny.
Because we are going to be doing some rolling later, so I had to bust out my dice tray, of course. I can't just roll on the tabletop. Bad for everything. So in our other new releases, we did go over these a couple weeks ago because they came out in bookstores, but now they're available at comic shops too. We have the Complete Art of Guild Wars ArenaNet 20th Anniversary book, which is actually something that was announced at PAX West last year when I met Emily and Diana. So that was a fun announcement to get to be part of. They had a lot of new Guild Wars content come out the same day. It's been really great working with those guys. We're actually going to have them on a stream with us next week. So we'll be announcing that with more fanfare very soon. But we're going to have some guests from the dev team. And I'm really excited to have them join us and talk about the art that went into this book. It's a beautiful collection from the entire 20 years and both games. So if you're a Guild Wars fan, you definitely...
I cannot wait to see this in person. Their art is so gorgeous.
It is. It's a beautiful book. Oh, okay. Rex really needs some love right now. So here he is. This is Rex.
Hi, Rex.
He's kind of invaded a few streams now. So if you watch us regularly, you've probably met Rex.
He wants to be internet famous.
He really, yeah. Now he is. He's into my dice tray. We'll see what he rolls. I'll let you know. But yeah, so that is now available widely. It has been available in bookstores. Now you can get it from your local comic shop too. So that's pretty exciting. And stay tuned for more details on our stream with the Guild Wars folks next week. That'll be really exciting. So and then our final book that is new in comic shops this week is another one that's been out in bookstores for a little bit, but Vampire Hunter D. If you didn't know, we do publish this ongoing series. It's a manga, but it's prose, and it is illustrated by none other than the amazing Yoshitaka Amano, who, of course, is the artist also on Final Fantasy. It's probably what he's best known for.
So pretty.
It's gorgeous. The cover, I really like the cover art for this one, actually. Specifically, this is volume 29, Noble Front. And it's he illustrates, there are always some pages of illustrations throughout. But yeah, this cover is absolutely gorgeous. So that's an ongoing series. We have a new volume come out once or twice a year, typically. So the writer on this is Hideyuki Kikuchi. And again, Yoshitaka Amano is the artist. Translated, we're trying to make sure we shout out all our translators as much as possible. So it's Kevin Leahy on these. So this is available now, comic shops and bookstores both. Check it out if you are a fan of Yoshitaka Amano's other works or just a good vampire story. I feel like you guys might like vampires. I don't know why.
But not so much the vampire hunting.
Yeah,
we're not about that life.
We could maybe we should think about this. Maybe we should think about some potential crossovers here.
A Vampire Hunter D, the Masquerade. Like
That is a mouthful. That is a very long title.
Yes.
I was telling these folks, I have never actually played Vampire the Masquerade, and I have been, though, following your streams lately, and now I'm really excited to try it at some point. So
it was very intimidating for me getting into it because it's so the opposite of any kind of role-playing game I've ever played before. But now that we're like in it, like B.J. Walters is an excellent teacher. I feel like we've picked it up really well, and it's a blast.
Well, and it's one of those things, like I feel like when people think role-playing games, they think D&D immediately, and because it's something that isn't D&D, people automatically feel intimidated, which is why we did the streams in the first place. But it's really pretty easy, arguably easier to understand than D&D. So remind me and I'll send you the book, Kara. It's definitely worth trying.
I mean, I won't say no. I really am interested now. And you're totally right. I mean, I have no experience with it. I've been playing D&D and many other tabletop and role-playing games for a long time, but not that system. So it didn't matter, though, that I didn't really know what you were all rolling. I could still understand, and like the story is really what drives it. And so everybody was doing a great job. And yeah, your GM, B.J. Walters, he's fantastic. I love watching him in all of his games. So
he's a golden god, and I don't know what I'd do without him.
No, you can't be in my dice tray because we're going to do things with that. Well, I wanted to ask you two also. So, I'm giving all this info. All these comics and books are now available at your local comic shops and bookstores, but a lot of times those are also game stores. Do you have any particular game stores, like in your area, that you would like to shout out that are doing like curbside pickup or online ordering right now?
I know for a fact that Good Games is all over the place. They are actually super tight with Level Up Dice too, but they did a wonderful job putting together a nice little package of the new Magic the Gathering set that my birthday's next week, so it was a gift for me that I got to open early because I couldn't wait. So I know they're still trying to do some stuff, and here in Indianapolis, Family Time Games is doing curbside pickup and trying to take care of their customer base too. It's one of those super close, loyal places, so that's really nice.
Yeah, I live in New York City. I don't know that they have a comic presence there, but my local game shop, the 20-Sided Store, is doing a lot of great initiatives to keep everybody safe and healthy in-store pickup or delivery. There's so many comic book places that are out there that are really adapting to the times and trying to make sure that everybody gets what they need right now, which is amazing. There's it's not in New York City, but there's one out in California called Nuclear Comics, run by a friend that is like absolutely killing it at trying to make sure everybody gets their comics while staying safe and healthy, which is such an amazing thing to do right now.
It is. Yeah, thank you. I'm major props to all the comic shops and bookstores. I've been a bookseller for many, many, many years as well. And so big shout out to all my colleagues in that field too, who are, doing their best and fulfilling all the online orders and working, kind of crazy shifts in the warehouses while still social distancing and staying safe. But we're all trying. And thank you to everybody at home who's supporting, because you really are keeping those shops afloat. So very important right now. And yeah, again, a lot of the comic shops also now carry game merchandise, including dice and all the role-playing books that we're talking about. So it's a great stop if anybody near you is open and maybe can help you find some things to get through the staying home quarantine times.
It's a good time to pick up a new RPG.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure, most of the folks that we have following along with us today are probably at least passing familiar with one or both of us. But just in case, can you two give us a little rundown of what Level Up Dice is and what you two do?
Sure. So I'm Diana. I'm the social media marketing manager for Level Up Dice. We, as a company, are dedicated to coming up with the newest, the coolest, the best luxury gaming materials for you to bring to your game table to enhance that RPG that you sit down every week and love playing. And it's my job to talk about all of the dice, which is pretty great because who doesn't want to do that? It's pretty amazing.
And I'm Emily. I'm the corporate manager for Level Up Dice. So basically what that means is all those amazing dice that we put in people's hands, both through our online shop and at conventions, is only a part of what we do. We also create dice for some custom projects, corporate clients, special Kickstarters. I don't know if anyone happened to see the giant Wormwood Kickstarter that just closed a little while ago, but we created the dice for them for that Kickstarter, which ended up netting over like $1.5 million. It was like an insanely successful Kickstarter. So we're very excited about that. We actually just have a couple of hours left on a Kickstarter with an amazing company we're working with called 1985 Games, 16 hours to go as of right now, for their Dungeon Craft series. So check that out too. We made a special Raised Obsidian D20 for backers for their campaign. So there's a lot of fun little projects like that we do kind of more behind the scenes as opposed to the in-person, hands-on, friendly experience that you're used to seeing as at conventions. We're doing a lot of other stuff all over the place as well. So those projects are usually the things that land in my lap.
Which we all appreciate, because those are some very cool custom projects. I definitely backed that Wormwood Kickstarter, because of course I did. It took me quite a long time to decide, because the Kickstarters with all the options, man, it was the same actually for so Dark Horse partners with Mantic Games on Hellboy the board game, which also was initially a Kickstarter launch. And the stretch goals, I mean, they just blew through one after another after another. I think there were like 27 or something like that in all, maybe more. I cannot remember now, but each one of those was like more add-ons, and I'm like, oh, but I need that too. And I can't have Help with a Board Game, without the full box full of evil. So there's expansions, there's like extra figures, and it was kind of the same with this, I felt, where there were just so many dice options, different dice sets. And yeah, Level Up makes such beautiful something for everybody. So, I mean, there really were a lot of things to choose from. And I'm glad that it was such a successful Kickstarter, but I'm also not surprised. And Rex, I really need you to not be here right now.
Kara, let me ask you this, because when you and I talked about this yesterday, you said you backed the Kickstarter, but there was another set of Level Up dice that you had your eye on that was just like on our site.
There's always more. There's always more. I was trying to decide between, oh gosh, what did I ultimately go with? So I always love the blue sandstone because I just I love that color. My thing, the other element for me when choosing dice, and I have like a bunch sitting right here in front of me. So the ones that I selected from Level Up Dice initially are the Ivory Jade, which probably wouldn't have been something I thought I would pick out, because I do tend to like blues and greens, but it was the heft of these. I really like the way they feel, both on the surface and the heft, the weight in my hand when I'm rolling. So for me, that was kind of what pulled that whole package together. Sandstone is one that I thought I would pick, and then I think it was Adventuring or something like that.
Ooh, okay, unique choice. Choice.
I don't know. But ultimately, the one I always come back to again and again and again, I'm pretty zen, I guess. I like simple, clean things almost all the time. And so I like the simplicity of things like the Raised Obsidian. I like black on black. Also, that's kind of like my inner goth coming out, I guess. So
yep.
Yeah. So I think ultimately I was like, okay, I'm just going to go and like order Obsidian, normally through their site, and I'll back the Kickstarter with other things because, I need some high variance dice and all that too.
Totally.
So, as you do. So if you're a dice nerd and you're watching us at home, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, then I just said a bunch of gibberish. But anyway, I'm super excited to have you guys with us, and thank you again, because we are starting to build some more cool, exciting things together coming up in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I hope to be able to announce another stream pretty soon where we can all get together and do this again. And we might have some more fun things to show you guys at home. Because at Dark Horse, of course, we do have a lot of crossovers, a lot of tie-ins. We're happy to continue to work with our friends at Critical Role. Oh, Gary, why'd you put those up? So these are the dice that I want. I'm seeing now. I am actually, so this is a cool thing that Level Up does that I didn't know until I got my dice. I'm wearing the little pendant that comes with each set of your dice. So I had an old chain. I'll probably get a different one that actually matches the metal setting on this, but the pendant I'm wearing matches the Ivory Jade dice that I have. So that's a cool thing the Level Up does. And yeah, so anyway, Critical Role is the obvious tie-in for us right now with Dungeons and Dragons and comics. And we've also in the past done things like the Guild, of course. Felicia Day, who also is one of the folks in our Mystery Science Theater 3000 comics. And we also have Stranger Things, which I mentioned, which relies heavily on D&D themes. We have some new things coming up in the near future, too. Some have been announced, some not, so keep your eyes peeled. But obviously, there's a lot of crossover between comics and games and fans of both. So that being the case, Diana, what are some comics that you've read that you've especially liked? If we want to get into some of your favorites with Dark Horse.
Okay. All right. Well, my comic book reading right now has kind of hit a point where it's sort of like mass consumption, like give me all of the things. I love the alien universe. So the fact that Dark Horse has published so much stuff in that vein, it's wonderful. Because my cohabitant hates all things horror. So this is my vice. Like this is getting it done for me. I also grew up with Mystery Science Theater 3000. So that's like a big old slice of nostalgia for me. it was always a tradition in our house on Sundays. We'd all sit down and watch it together. So now the fact that that's not only something that's being made again, but the fact that there's actual like tangible books is pretty spectacular. And then the really big one for me that's been sort of front of mind this past week has been the Guild that you mentioned. I hope you're okay with me sharing this right now, but
oh yeah.
So I loved the Guild when it first started coming out. That was sort of like when I was awakening to my inner nerd. So it means a lot to me personally to have that show, and Dark Horse releasing the comics was a great thing. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but a couple of weeks ago, Felicia Day and the whole cast, led by Amy Vorpal, did a charity stream for No Child Hungry, where they raised about $40,000 in a 4-ish hour one shot that they did. They all had so much fun and enjoyed it so much that they decided to do a 4-part D&D adventure while everyone is in lockdown. And so first of all, I saw it and I freaked out because that's like the meeting of the worlds for me, right? That's the D&D universe that I have made my home, along with this amazing show and comic that's brought me so much joy and really sort of helped me discover my inner nerd and become the sparkling creature you see before you. And now I'm in a position where not only can I sit and watch those people that I admire play D&D, but I can send them fancy dice to play with. So I took a risk. I reached out to Vincent Casso, one of the cast, and talked to him a little bit. So we sent them a whole bunch of dice to just let them know we appreciate them bringing so much joy when we all really kind of need it the most. And yeah, so that's one that I'm revisiting right now, especially with that new revision. And of course, with Felicia Day being in Mystery Science Theater 3000, she's just all over Dark Horse. So
yeah, that's true. We have a great kind of long-standing relationship with Felicia Day, and it's been really nice to see her, at conventions again the last couple of years, because we did have the Mystery Science Theater 3000 comics, which were really fun, actually. If you like MST3K, I highly recommend them, whether you like the old MST3K, the new, or either. It sounds complicated, but they did manage to translate like the form of the show into a comic pretty well.
It's very like true to form. The jokes sound the same. Like it's great.
It's actually, it's pretty funny. My partner doesn't read a lot of comics actually, but I knew he'd like those, so I gave him the trade, and he was actually laughing out loud like while reading it. So I count that as a win. And the Guild, so that collection that we're showing right now on the stream is still available also. Those are really fun comics. I just looked through those again the other day because I was trying to find something, I think for Mother's Day, and that sounds weird, but I knew there were some scenes from the Guild that I might want to use for that. So, I don't think we ended up sharing a panel from those comics that time around, but they still hold up. If anybody kind of, grew up watching the Guild not that long ago, it hasn't been that long. We're not that old, right? No, the Guild, the comics are still super fun. And I think it's nice to have that kind of blend of fantasy, gaming, and humor all together in one book. So I like the contrast in your choices too. You have like the stark horror of aliens, and you have the fun and role playing of the Guild.
I'm sort of all over the place.
So how about you, Emily? What are some of your favorite comics?
I don't know. I feel like my answer is not going to be nearly as like touching and heartwarming as Diana's answer is. It's kind of a hard act to follow. But so I'm the kind of human that can like watch reruns or reread books over and over again. Like I gain endless satisfaction from just like revisiting worlds that I love and miss and want to go back to. And so I'm very guilty of just like rereading the same 10 books over and over again for all of time. Part of my goal in quarantine and having a little extra time as compared to maybe my usual life, is trying to reach out and embrace new things that I haven't read yet or haven't watched yet, that sort of thing, while also like rewatching the same shows and rereading the same books that I love. So I happen to very recently, and I mean like really recently, you can see like how much I've read it because I have it on my desk here. Black Hammer is a new series for me. That I'm just getting into, and I really love the way that it's got a very different take on the approach to the superhero story. So I'm getting really into it. Again, it's very fresh, so don't ask me detailed questions yet. But that being said, what I have to stay true to myself, right? So going back to my classic stance of revisiting stuff, I am also revisiting Avatar, specifically The Search, Avatar The Last Airbender, The Search, because I'm sure any Avatar The Last Airbender fan has at this point been made aware that it's back on Netflix, so we can all go back to binging it from start to finish. And in my opinion, it's just one of the most amazing series of all time, with some of the best writing of all time, and the comic series was such an amazing way to continue that story and to revisit that world. And so right now is the time, not only because it syncs up well with the show going back on air, but also just like our world right now. It's a good world to visit, to kind of get away from this world and think about some of the lessons that our current world can learn as well. So it's definitely a source of comfort, but also endless entertainment for me.
Yeah, it's really nice to have it back on Netflix. We're super excited about it because, I mean, we've had the comics going for a long time, and they're the official continuation of the show. They're wonderful. They're fantastic. You know, same creative team. But it's still just so good to see the characters back on the screen again, animated in all their glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I'm finding that it's nice to have something a little bit comforting to kind of escape into. But, you know, Avatar and Korra both, they also deal with real issues too. So it's not like you're completely hiding from the world, but you're experiencing it in a little bit of a different way, I guess, with characters that are kind of lovable and familiar. Yeah, the comic series. So we actually just announced today, in fact, a cover reveal anyway of a new edition of The Search. So previously, so if you haven't followed the Avatar comics, they're released in graphic novels. So there's like book 1, book 2, book 3 in each set. And the first one was The Promise, and we have The Search, and it goes on from there. And those 3 books are collected in a library edition, and those library editions are what are mostly available now. They're big hardcovers, beautiful books, and what we have announced several months ago now, and the cover reveal went out today, is an omnibus collection. So it's basically a paperback collection, a little easier to handle, lower price point also, so a little bit more affordable version of the library editions. And it's got a brand new cover by Gurihiru. So pretty excited to have that out in the world now. We announced the book, but we just hadn't been able to show the new cover art yet. So look for that. That's on all our social media today. Went up on the Comics Beat as an exclusive this morning, so you might have seen it there too. But yeah, that's a great call out. Avatar's back on Netflix. Super excited about that. Lots of books. If you have not read the comics yet, now's a great time to start and catch up.
Yeah.
And it's never a bad time to read Black Hammer, so welcome aboard.
Thank you.
For that.
I'm happy to be here. What can I say?
Do you have a favorite character yet? I won't ask you details, but...
Well, I think I haven't honestly gotten far enough to know for sure, but I think it's Goth Lady Dragonfly chick. Yes. I'm
Madame Dragonfly.
I'm not in the book, Emily. You're gonna have to relax.
Oh my, Diana, you could join me then. I have been saying for a long time that I think my next like cosplay Halloween costume is going to be Golden Gale from that series. And I mean, if you want to be like the Madame Dragonfly to my Golden Gale, I invite you to do this.
Let's do it. Emerald City next year. We've got it planned.
I'll be the Barbalian.
Yes.
Everything's gonna be great.
I mean, that will be tough to cosplay.
Yeah.
But I commend anyone for pulling that off.
I'll be the Barbalian as Emily. It's there. I'm done. I'm the Barbalian right now.
I love this. I love this idea. We're gonna have a group cosplay, so look for that when like conventions start again, or just on stream. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But also, like, if you continue on with Black Hammer, there are tons of side series, and the series itself goes on for quite a while. So, and I mean, still ongoing. We actually have a Barbalian. He gets his own series coming up very soon. So that's going to be really cool. We also have Colonel Weird is getting his own series coming up even sooner. Those dates are all being solidified now. So look for, again, announcements of single issues kind of coming back more and more. But yeah, Black Hammer, it's an excellent series. Jeff Lemire is the writer, and many writers, but Dean Ormston is the co-creator of the core series. So always excited to talk about that. Speaking of all those characters, as I have tempted everyone with up to now, we're going to be looking at these characters, some of them anyway, as potential Dungeons and Dragons characters. Diana, would you like to maybe start? Like, who are you thinking of in the Dark Horse universe that you want to try rolling and seeing what their character becomes?
Yeah. So I was sitting here trying to think of who I want to RP. To be honest with you, like that is the reason that I chose who I did. And I was like, okay, all right. So I really love to play socially inept characters. It's one of my favorite things to do because they're just so goofy and terrible at peopling. And I happen to love Hellboy. And I'm going with Abe Sapien. I feel that is the inner Diana, and I'm super excited to give it a try.
I love this potential. Abe is such a fascinating character, so excellent choice in my opinion. In many people's opinion, he's popular. So for those at home, I mean, we've probably got a mix of familiarity with D&D and with characters and creating them. We have kind of the basic character sheet from Wizards of the Coast, which is free to download right now and print at home. It's on their website. Quick search, and maybe we can drop the link in the chat. But if we want to bring that up, we can kind of show you what we're talking about as we go through it. What do you think would be the comparable race, or as I prefer to think of it personally, species? I kind of wish they would change it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Race. No, I'm with you there. Race sounds weird.
Yeah, I hate it. It has poor connotations.
Yeah. Well, I think if we're looking at this from a character building perspective, I mean the default thought would be like a Triton or a merfolk, but I think based on some of Abe's skills, I kind of want to take it water genasi.
I love it.
I kind of want to try a water genasi style, and we'll see how that works out. We'll see how well that works for me. So, genasi. Water. I'm using D&D Beyond because I always forget what order I should be doing things in. I'm gonna bring it up myself. A super useful tool, also free, or you can get it at a free level. So if you are at home trying to get started with D&D, or like even if you're used to playing it pen and paper at home, which I have some friends who are very dedicated to that, and I appreciate it, but this really is a useful tool. dndbeyond.com. I'm going to pull mine up as well so that I can follow along. And if you are not familiar with who Abe Sapien is, that is a character from Mike Mignola's Hellboy and BPRD series. Abe actually is one of the central characters. You might at least be familiar with him from the movies. He's
pretty different in the comics. I mean, same core character, but as we were saying, very complex. And the Abe Sapien and BPRD comics are all fantastic. Definitely recommend those as well.
And I think, looking at Abe, his abilities are a lot of psychic kind of based stuff, but he's also really good at hand-to-hand combat. So there's a lot of options for what class to put him in. But choices are hard, you guys. Choices are real hard. I think wizard. I think we go like classic D&D trope wizard.
So he's like a book magic kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's always reading. It's sort of it's on brand, right?
Yeah. I think that's a fair choice. Wizards are, in my opinion, like kind of tough unless you like keeping track of a lot of details like that, spell components and books, making sure that you memorize things all the time.
Got to do all the shopping while you're in town and all of that.
Right. Do you have a preferred class, like when you're just playing?
Oh man, so I love playing bards. I love playing bards. It's very much me to a T. But right now I'm playing a fighter for the first time ever, and I'm kind of loving it a lot more than I thought I would. She's my goodest Aasimar fighter girl, and she's amazing and just cleaves everything in twain. But normally I play bard because who doesn't want to just be a bard?
I mean, one of the groups I play with, I feel like we never really have a bard actually, so maybe we could, use you. A welcome addition.
I promise you'll hate it.
Diana's the bard for hire. Just bring her in when the bard is needed.
That being said, like I was telling you guys, we also joke about having a campaign where we're all bards, the all bard campaign, and we can each be like a different specialization within that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we would be a band. I mean, if you have that many bards together, we have to be a band. Otherwise, we'd be like, American Idol or something, and I don't know, we'd be competing. I guess that could also be a campaign.
But then, like, who's going to be the front man? Because there always has to be a front man.
It would have to be like a fight to the death. I mean, that's
and then it's just a party of one.
Right.
I actually did play in a one shot that started out that way, where there were more than one of us in the campaign playing bards, and we met like the you walk into a tavern and sit down with all these strangers, like portion of the one shot was us all converging at the like American Idol style like tournament of bards. So it's a real fun way to start things off, I gotta say.
Little did I know. Mm-hmm. I should have realized that this wasn't something I just invented on my own.
No, I'm only trying to tell you what a brilliant idea it is, because clearly.
I mean, a lot of people talk about it, but committing to it is a whole other can of worms.
Oh yeah. Do you sing when you're playing a bard? Like, do you actually kind of make songs up when it makes sense for your character?
I've tried. So I play a little ukulele, which is super convenient for sitting at the table and just strumming and playing around. My bards usually play the bagpipes or a saxophone or something far more obnoxious. But it got to be one of those things where I'm just not that quick of a thinker anymore. I can't come up with things on the fly anymore. So it was too much of a challenge, and now I sort of phone it in and just say I sing a song about smashing the goblin's teeth in, that kind of thing.
Yeah, coming up with appropriate lyrics that like make sense in the moment, I think would be pretty challenging. Sometimes I think about it outside.
Pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know how Sam Riegel did it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, major props to Sam, because He always seemed to have some, and I'm sure that he's got to prepare some of those ahead of time, at least like a little bit, like at least know. If it were me, I've thought about this. I would probably have a few songs in mind ahead of time,
like ready to go.
Right, like okay, it's time for me to cast, cutting words or something. So I'm gonna take this song and change the lyrics to it and have like at least a few songs in mind. Otherwise, I'd be like, Beth.
Well, I love it because it's so coming up with those songs on the fly, even having them ahead of time, right? That's a very specialized skill that, as far as I know, only Weird Al has been able to monetize and turn into like a real life job. So it's one of those skills that has such a happy home in D&D when it doesn't fit into the rest of the world at all. I appreciate it deeply, and those who can do it amaze me. I can't anymore.
Yeah. It looks like we have at least a few experienced bards in the chat. Yeah, prep common scenarios ahead of time. Yeah, okay. So sometimes it's just a disaster, and that's probably funnier. I agree. That's probably what would happen to me. I'd probably just like verbally faceplant, like start doing something, and the first couple lines might sound funny and like rhyme even, but then it would just fall apart. Just start doing like Christmas carols or something.
If it works, then it works.
Yeah.
The spell still casts. I don't see what the problem is.
Got some more giveaway entries. Awesome. Yeah, just a reminder. So what our giveaways are, how they work for Wednesday streams, New Comic Book Day, is you are entering to win all of the new comics that I went through earlier, which includes a copy of Guild Wars, the complete art book, Vampire Hunter D, Volume 29, single issues of Kill Whitey Donovan #5, which is the conclusion, and also Bang #1, the new David Rabin variant. And thanks to Diane and Emily, we have something special to throw in the giveaway this week. We also have a little dice set that you guys brought along. Can you tell us a little bit about those dice?
Yeah, so before the world fell into chaos and became one giant dumpster fire, we had grand visions of 2020 being the year of the double critical, and that was Level Up's year. It was going to be the year for dice. So we initially started talking about these little D20 holders that could hold your two favorite Advantage D20s way back then. And we decided, that's probably not something that we're going to produce to sell, but it would be a really good like giveaway thing to share with people, just a cool little, hey, you carry around your D20s so you can make decisions on the fly, or, see who wins in an initiative roll against your friends. So, yeah, you can see them on the screen there now. We have gray and black, and we only made 100 of each one, so they're all very special and very unique. And that is our contribution. I'll pick out a couple super special D20s to put in there for you. I'll give you all the good luck that I have to spare when I pack that up for you.
Ooh, careful. Be careful.
Oh, no, I roll like hot garbage all the time. I don't know how it's possible.
It's because you're giving all your luck to all the dice that are given to customers and giveaways and everything. You're just so elegantly just transferring all that luck into those dice that never get used at your own table. That's why.
That's so what you're saying is
generosity.
I should keep all the dice that I would normally send out. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know someone in my party that could use some extra luck, so maybe they should try to win. Yeah, so that's a super cool bonus thing for our giveaway. So natural 20 is the keyword. Use the hashtag or #, and then natural20. That is how to enter once and only once in the chat. We will draw a winner in a little bit here. So at this point, we've got Abe Sapien. He is a water genasi, a wizard, because definitely he is a smart fellow. Let's see, what else?
I gave him specializations in Arcana and History because that feels very on brand to me. But I'm up to the dice rolling portion, so I wanna know what you guys are gonna build before I start to roll dice, and maybe I'll roll better with more knowledge.
Good call. Okay, Emily, who is your choice? Who would you like to create a character for?
So, what I really want to do is dive into something that's a really lovely crossover between RPGs and Dark Horse comics and my personal insane fandoms, and look at the Witcherverse and roll up Geralt of Rivia. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love The Witcher. Been playing the games forever. Have you read the books as well?
I have read the first book, and unfortunately, none of the ones past that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have not read all of them myself yet, but I'm working my way. I'm catching up. The comics are really great too. Especially, I mean, our comics. We work with CD Projekt Red, who, of course, do the games, and so all our comics are based strongly on the world of the games. They're original stories, just set in the world of The Witcher 3, especially, or kind of just before The Witcher 3, depending on the comics. And they're all written by Paul Tobin, art by a few various artists. Yeah, they're really good. If you like the games, you like the comics, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, the games are absolutely incredible. So this is, and I mean, Geralt, like, who doesn't want to be Geralt? So right now I'm going to be Geralt.
Love it.
I think he's a human. I think we can pretty much say, yeah, he's human. That is his character type. And you know, I've been crowdsourcing this a little bit because I think there's a couple different ways that you could roll Geralt up, and I'm going to go against what my first instinct was and look a little into Hexblade Warlock.
Ooh, okay.
I think that is very fitting, actually. That kind of complicates what I was thinking.
Ooh.
Not necessarily for Geralt. So if I'm going to set one of these up as well, I was thinking I would do Klaus from the Umbrella Academy. And he also would be a human. He's definitely chaotic.
Yeah.
I'm going to say chaotic good.
Chaotic
because I think he is, yeah. And I mean, of course, there's also a difference between the show and the comics. But at the heart, I think they did a good job on the show of capturing, kind of the heart of what the character is and can be in the comics. He's another one, actually, who's getting his own spin-off series, all Klaus, all the time, coming up soon. That's being another one of those things that we've had to reschedule, so stay tuned. But when it's coming up, we'll be sure to let you know. But yeah, Klaus getting his own whole comic series. So he's an interesting one. Human, chaotic good. I think it is in his heart. The chaos, though, is that reigns. And I was thinking he would be a warlock, actually.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I could be persuaded in a different direction, but I was thinking warlock because he kind of self-harms to gain his powers or to kind of hide them away, depending on how he's feeling, I guess. So that's why I was thinking warlock.
I dig it. The thing is, warlocks are so diverse in terms of how you can build them that I see no problem for us having two warlocks here.
Very true. Very true.
I also feel like a case could be made for something like a grave cleric.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
But the cleric part is what's holding me up there. Like, even though grave cleric is essentially an oxymoron in and of itself, but yeah, I think warlock is a bit more fitting, honestly.
Maybe at some point he'll dual class.
Ooh, there we go.
I don't know. I'm gonna select his other things next. I'm also just gonna use Beyond because it's an easy tool for like moving through the setup and making sure I don't leave anything out. With Klaus, he definitely needs to be able to speak to the dead or undead. So I'm gonna say he has. Let's start with Abyssal. Why not?
So
right,
the
so
dead
Diana,
growl at him.
You said you were ready to roll. Tell us what your next steps are.
So I went through and I chose the specializations for Abe Sapien as I'm building him. And now I'm at the point where I need to roll up some stats for my character. So I'm going to be really redundant here for some of you in chat who I know have played D&D before, but D&D stats are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So strength obviously is going to be how beefy you are, how much you can lift, how many gym days you have a week. Dexterity is going to be how sort of how dexy you are. Like I don't know how else to say that. How sort of quick and gracefully we'll say you can move, you can get things done. Constitution is going to be how hard you can get hit before you hit the floor. Intelligence is general book knowledge. If I can name a subject, you can give me 20 facts about that subject. Wisdom is the application of that knowledge. And then charisma is how good at talking to people I am. How suave, how debonair, how personable. And Abe is a super genius guy. So I'm going to want to make him super intelligent and very wise. Probably not so much beefy, though that is important. He's probably pretty dexterous, though. So when you're rolling up stats in D&D, you can do it a couple different ways. If you don't want to do the math yourself, or if you don't have 4d6 sitting around, you can always go with something like a point buy system or a standard array. Both of which are options that'll automatically calculate for you in D&D Beyond. So if you don't know what you're doing, I cannot stress this enough. It's a wonderful tool. So I like to roll dice. Obviously, I would not be where I am in life if I did not enjoy rolling dice. So to figure out what my statistics are, I'm going to calculate each of those 6 scores by taking 4 d6s, rolling them together, dropping the lowest one, and then getting a point total. I didn't get out enough d6s, so we're going to have to be patient for half a second.
I had to make sure I left some out. Of course, when you like dice, as we all do, you acquire them. I have many sets now. Never enough.
It's not a bad problem, right? Like, you could collect antique cars, but those take up so much more space and they're so much more expensive. This is, or you could, spend that money on drugs. This is so much better.
True. Dice, not drugs.
Yeah, dice, not drugs, guys. So I'm going to do some math. Oh my God, that was good.
Yeah, earlier everybody was just egging me on in the chat to get those dice I was talking about.
I think you probably should, and even if you don't, I'm just gonna send them to you.
We haven't even filled out the fulfillment part of the Kickstarter yet for the Wormwood dice, so I could yet change my mind again. I did plan for a few specific things. I like to back the, they had some charity dice. I like to support those. So I'm gonna throw one of those in. D6s,
which I'm pretty stoked about, actually.
Yeah.
It's so we're planning to do some charity stuff with Dr. B next week. So it's a very good timing for that.
Excellent. Yeah, I was excited to see that included in the Kickstarter. I backed it anyway, but that definitely sweetened the deal for me. Yeah. And it'll be a while. I think I'm in like wave 6 or something. So it'll be some time before I see any of that. But the high variance dice too, it's an interesting concept. So I'm excited to try those out.
Pass-fail campaigns. For you guys in chat who somehow missed the Kickstarter, high variance dice are going to be like a D20. So the one that makes most of your decisions for you in D&D, with several 20s, several 19s, several 1s, and several 2s. So you have a higher probability of failing spectacularly or succeeding spectacularly. So it's kind of no middle ground. You're either really good or you really, really suck. I rolled amazingly and it just figures because I'll probably never get to play Abe. I'm gonna find a reason to now. My lowest roll was a 14.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm not upset with this. I ended up with 14 strength, 14 dexterity, 15 constitution, 17 intelligence, 17 wisdom, and 14 charisma. And I know you guys are gonna say I cheated, but I swear to God I didn't.
I believe you. That happened to me rolling a new character the other night. Also, Abe is powerful. Abe is a very smart, very powerful being, and I think he deserves this.
I think so too. I think so too.
I think we may actually have to play a game with these characters after this.
I really want to. Like, the more I think about it, the more I wanna role play Abe, and I want to see Emily role play Gerald.
We're all gonna have an interesting time of that, actually. All right, I'm gonna look into this and see if it will be possible. If so, stay tuned, chat. If we can, we'll maybe come back. Everything Dark Horse does is creator owned, and that kind of technically that applies to licensing too. The licensor in The Witcher's case, we license the rights to do very specific things, usually comics in this case, and products. We also have a lot of cool figures. We just announced some new Witcher merch actually the other day, keychains and pins. So if you are, whether you're Team Yennefer or Team Triss, we also have some new items for both. And also, of course, School of the Wolf, Geralt, the wolf medallion that I'm sure you've seen before. It's the symbol that they use on most things. Anyway, so I'll have to check and make sure that we get the okay to do something like this. But yeah, that game sounds super fun. All right, so you rolled super high for Abe. He's going to be a badass wizard. Shall we let Emily continue with Geralt, see if he turns out strong or like wimpy?
Well, I was focused on rolling the strength first because Geralt, and got a 15 for that one. So that's not terrible. Let's go for the charisma next, since I'm going with the warlock. I think Geralt is charismatic in his way. I mean, he definitely gets it. You know what I'm saying? Quite often.
He's got that dark brooding thing.
Oh yeah.
It's appealing.
And I rolled 15 for that one too, which feels unfair. But hey, my opalite dice love me, so what can I say?
Ooh.
Let's go with I'll do the dexterity next.
With two oppressors, so like, not too worried because they're gonna have to have an answer to that.
I know you guys won't believe me, but I rolled 15 again.
Ooh.
I believe you. Apparently, this is.
When are we playing these characters? All right, hold on. This one is gonna be my Constitution, which put me in my place because I rolled 8.
Oh no!
That's gonna be rough.
That was all
Geralt.
2s and 1s, guys. That was not fun. All right. 14 for my intelligence.
Ariel.
And
Okay.
Geralt's wisdom.
See where I am in the circle? If you to your left, if you come over here, you can shoot them and beat them.
And 13 for wisdom.
And you can still attack.
That's still not terrible.
Not terrible. It's the Constitution is
That's
not
gonna be rough.
give
That's
what he's got to go through. His hit points are going to be not fun, is what I'm saying. But it is what it is.
Well, I mean, he's got, tonics and potions and things that he could take to
You're not
help.
wrong. You're not wrong.
Maybe. I was just trying to choose some of the specializations for Klaus's warlock. And somebody asked what level we're rolling at. I decided to just kind of look ahead at what I was going to need to pick. So I was looking at like level 5 or 6, because you gain many abilities at that point. And I think for Klaus, I mean, his patron would be the Fiend, his warlock patron. Let's see. I actually haven't played a warlock in a long time, so there's a lot of new stuff in here for me. Eldritch Invocations, he's definitely got all the various sight. He's got Eldritch Sight. He would have Devil's Sight, I think. Let me get into his ability scores. I think the key things for Klaus, I think he's pretty charismatic personally. Comic and book, I mean, intelligent actually, yeah.
Wisdom would be the one that I would question.
Strength and wisdom maybe are yeah. Okay, so his charisma, I actually rolled a 16.
That's good. That's choice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lead.
Actually, no, let's see.
It's like a year round.
Wow.
Now, and like
Doing pretty good here too. Let's see.
They're not just individuals.
14. Pop that into his intelligence because I think that is his next most important. Lord, they're gonna think we're all liars because that's ridiculous. Yeah, so that would be essentially another 15.
The stuff has like tons of like other...
Oh, for Klaus, I mean, Dex maybe.
Yeah, but
he's quick.
Yeah, because honestly, I love you, Klaus, but I think your lowest would end up being like strength and wisdom. Actually, he's probably got a pretty high constitution because he's survived a lot.
Yeah.
I'll put that in constitution. Okay. 15. That's a little more like it. 10 for strength.
Push a weight forward.
And let's see. An 8 for dexterity. Oh, class. And let's see, that'll be 12. 12 for intelligence, that's not too bad. Final one, another 12 for wisdom, so I guess he's not that unwise. Yeah,
he's seen some stuff.
That is certainly true. He's seen more than probably anybody should. Oh, Klaus. I mean, honestly, it would be fun to roll like a Klaus and a Ben kind of together in tandem.
Yeah. Ooh, like a familiar.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you could get a familiar as a warlock, so.
Oh, I love how this is developing. We're gonna have to play it. Like, there's nothing about this. Maybe if we can, we'll stream it. If we can't, we're still gonna play it.
Well, I actually really love there are so many options where it just makes so much sense to build them into Geralt's character. Like, I had a lot of fun with choosing because I just went ahead and unlocked. I have everything in D&D Beyond, so I'm like using all of the side books and all of the additional content. And there is a variety of human that is oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what it was called. This guardian, something, the Sentinel, something like that, which gives him basically enhances his wisdom checks, his insight and perception checks, which is like so very Geralt. It makes it so that he's basically always like on his guard, like he has fast reactions and he's like ready to go, which is, it's just so Geralt, and it makes me really happy.
Like, that's so Raven, but that's so Geralt.
Yeah, so there are so many different I love building characters. I think we all do. There are so many ways to customize this, and I don't know about you two, but I always find that, like, as I'm building the character, as I'm selecting these options, as I'm looking at what the possibilities are, who is my warlock's patron, and then what are the possibilities of like packed spells and things that you get. To me, that helps me shape the character. That helps the character kind of come to life. I think about like, oh, well, they would probably have, this selection of spells. not trying to like overpower it or anything, but to make a character that makes sense, you know?
There was a great character creation moment in one of the other campaigns that we played in this house, where Justice has a bard, and the bard is essentially like a snake oil salesman. Like he just goes from town to town conning people. And he was like, I want to take this spell that does damage, but it makes more sense for my character to take the distort value spell so that he can screw with people more.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we ended up sticking with the character stuff because it made sense.
Yeah, I've kind of been doing that with a character I have in a campaign right now is a druid. But the campaign itself has kind of a Cthulhu mythos setting. And this character is from, another world essentially entirely. And so it's been interesting because I have to kind of reconcile, well, they're not really from this world, but all these spells have to do with like the Underdark and things like that. So choosing things that make sense for that character and keeping to one theme versus just taking whatever there is available, as a druid. I think that's something you kind of learn the longer you play. Like, oh, I could have all these things and they'd be so cool and I could, do this so much damage or be like all knowing and whatever. But actually selecting things that make sense and they don't seem like they would be useful, but then you find along the way that those spells that seem so, when am I going to use this? They become the most important thing. Case in point, Zone of Truth. Anybody? Yeah, I was
boy.
like, oh, that's stupid. Like that comes with my character. I'm never going to use that. This is a past character, but man, that saved us from like world-ending situations a few times.
Oh yeah.
Heat Metal is another one that I read at first and I was like, that one's stupid. And then you can use it to do all kinds of additional damage or just like melt fences and stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, all you have to have in your inventory are like a few ball bearings and you can create havoc wherever you go.
I'm definitely of the camp of like always pick. I never really min-max my RPG characters. I'm always like picking just the things that I think make the most sense, like Diana was saying, and the things that are more character driven, because at the end of the day, that tells a much more interesting story when you're playing than like, oh, I did 6 more points of damage that round,
Right.
like.
And especially if, battles are not all your campaign. There's, it could be, of course, if you wanted to play that way. But I think, especially now, with more of us watching things like Critical Role, more people are seeing kind of the joy of role playing. So many other friends of mine, tabletop RPG communities. Every time I catch a show, it's much more about who the characters are and how they're interacting. And I can, as with you guys playing Vampire the Masquerade, like I had no familiarity with that game, but I was immediately drawn into the story and the characters, and I enjoyed watching the interactions, and I could fill in the rest, in my head as we went along. I don't need to know what you're rolling, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so my background for Klaus is obviously Haunted One.
Awesome.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
For those at home, you are haunted by something so terrible you dare not speak of it. You've tried to bury it and run away from it to no avail, etc. The burden has taken its toll, isolating you from most people and making you question your sanity. You must find a way to overcome it before it destroys you. There's Klaus.
Facts. For Geralt, I went with the background of hermit. You live in seclusion, either in a sheltered community such as a monastery or, a witcher training grounds, for a formative part of your life. In your time apart from the clamor of society, you found quiet solitude and some of the answers you're looking for. But also, you lost touch. So.
This one might be a little bit tricky for me. So for the background for Abe, probably Sage. right? Because he was a Victorian scientist. So you spent years learning the lore of the multiverse, you scoured manuscripts, studied scrolls, and listened to the greatest experts on the subjects that interest you, being the sea. Your efforts have made you a master in your fields of study. I think that's probably the best fit.
That's a good one. I almost went with Sage for Geralt too. There's a lot of them that have such great qualities for interesting characters, but I think in your case it's a good pick.
And like that speaks to what you can do here. Like, I think a lot of people go into character creation with something or someone that they're trying to emulate and putting that together. And it just goes to show, like, yeah, Sage could absolutely work for Geralt, who's a completely different character with a completely different skill set and a completely different background in a completely different universe, but it's still ambiguous enough that it could totally apply to him. It speaks a lot to the care with which a lot of the descriptions in the D&D universe are written. I understand why there are like 5 pages of credits in the beginning of the book. Because so many people have a hand in this.
It's all about taking those archetypes and establishing the bullet points and then letting you flesh out what that actually means to the character you've chosen to play.
I've actually doing this kind of exercise with our comics characters is fun, and it shows like both sides of that. Yeah, like how well developed the D&D setting is, the universe, everything that they've built, and then what makes comics great. These characters that we've chosen, we've each chosen them because they're complex and there's so much to them that we knew we could create interesting, fleshed out game characters from them. And this is something I've actually done. This book I'm holding up right now, Modern Fantasy, it's kind of like The Office meets D&D. It's by Rafer Roberts and Kristen Gudsnuck, and it's one of my all-time favorites because it blends like Dungeons and Dragons fantasy RPG type humor with kind of that modern day setting. And we did little character sheets, which maybe my team can bring up on the stream. But yeah, we did these character sheets for them, even though they're not actually D&D characters in the comic. We made character sheets just kind of like we're doing right now, where the creators had fun, picking out, rolling their stats basically, and like, what weapons do they use? What are their skills and abilities? Like they have basically a class in the comic, but that's it in terms of like fleshing out the character sheet. So those are fun things to do. And yeah, we obviously could have a really fun game here, even though we have 2 warlocks right now. They're going to end up being so different.
Oh yeah.
And Klaus too, like we were saying, he could be a warlock, or he could easily be something like a grave cleric, which is an interesting new subclass of cleric that I haven't actually had a chance to play yet. So I don't know.
It's pretty cool. The more content comes out for D&D, the more I want more games so that I can play with it all. Like the new D&D guild, the acapella bard and the opera bard and the cartographer. Like those are based off of people that we know, which is pretty cool, but it's also just it's one of those neat twists that actually applies to a life that we can live now. Maybe not the cartography part, because I get lost going to the grocery store, but opera and a cappella are things that people do in the shower or in college and stuff like that. So there's always new stuff coming out, and I think that's probably what's so cool, because you never play the same D&D campaign twice.
Very true. I just, for the first time, I think ever, was playing in a short, like, Eberron-based game, and I was having so much fun with the character I created for that, that I really want to revisit that in the future. Well, I don't want to keep you guys for too long today, but you're welcome. Like, maybe the 2 of you can go a little bit further with your characters, and I was thinking, at the end, if we flesh all these out, say we all build our character at level 5, maybe we can share them on Dark Horse Social afterwards if people want to see kind of what we came up with. I can share the character sheets.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm actually quite proud of this, so yeah.
Awesome. So I'll finish fleshing mine out some more. Gary is showing, yes, thank you, Gary. So he's showing the character sheets I did for Modern Fantasy, or that I helped create anyway. Props to, again, Rafer Roberts and Kristen Gudsnuck. So Rafer's the writer. He had a lot of fun writing the little characteristics that go into these sheets. And then Kristen, of course, illustrated them. We have some really fun, iconic characters in here. Lizard Wizard. Cute. Yeah. Definitely read that if you haven't yet. It's available on Dark Horse Digital as well as in print. Rafer got to come with us to, or do a signing anyway, at our booth at ALA Annual last year. So that was really fun. We had been looking forward to that this year, but alas, no in-person conventions. So here we are online. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us and tuning in, so we can at least try to bring it to you, bring it to us all online. Yeah, let's check in on the giveaway. I think we're at about that time. Final call for giveaway entries. Natural 20 is your keyword. You'll win a copy of each of our new releases this week, and also that special dice holder from Level Up Dice. And so we will share after this the character sheets for our new creations of Klaus from the Umbrella Academy, a warlock, Geralt of Rivia, also a warlock, and Abe Sapien, a wizard. I love it. Are there any other character developments that you guys are excited to talk about right now?
I get to pick spells. I haven't gotten to pick spells in so long.
I love this because I never play like a fighter, like sword slinger kind of character. Cleric tends to be my pretty much only class I almost ever play. But I feel like I've cheated and found a way to like be a spellcaster while using a sword. So I love it.
Yeah, with that specialization in warlock, you'll definitely be kind of more of a fighter than Klaus will be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Klaus relies on his wits and his charms, since he's got a pretty high charisma now. And his Ben, of course.
He'll be the talker of the group.
Yeah. I think that's definitely how it's shaping up. I mean, Abe too, but yeah. I'm gonna have fun fleshing this out some more. It'll take me a while to build out his spells, because like I said, I put a lot of consideration into those. They're more than just usage. They're like part of the character. So we'll spend some time considering.
Well, see, this entire process has literally cut out the one part of character creation that takes the longest for me, which is naming my character.
Oh gosh.
Good call. Yeah. Man, that is so true. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Like the character I just mentioned, the one I rolled recently for an Eberron thing, that took me so long. I was like, all these names sound ridiculous. Like it's got to be something you can use all the time and that other people can say.
That and do you guys ever go to one of the random name generators and just button mash until something comes up that's like 2 syllables and you're like, okay, I think I can get that. I can understand how that is supposed to be spoken.
Yes, 100%.
That's my MO. I don't even try and come up with names anymore. But
my system always involves a lot of research into foreign languages and like traditions of different cultures and their naming conventions, and it's very complicated.
Yeah, that also kind of sounds like me. It depends, if I'm setting something up for a one shot, I try to rein myself in. But yeah, for longer campaigns for sure. I also, interestingly, like I tend to play a cleric a lot or something like that. I wonder if everybody has something they kind of prefer above others.
I would love to see a poll for that. I would love to see where people land.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I found a really interesting infographic a while ago. I'll see if I can find it again and share it with everybody. But it took, I don't know how they polled people for this information, but it was from Wizards of the Coast, and it showed like the frequency of all players who answered whatever the survey was, like what class, what race or species, and like the combination thereof. And so like what were the most popular? And I mean, some things make sense. I mean, those who play like a ranger tended to be an elf. That was by far the most popular in that category, but it was a really interesting thing to look at and like done in a cool visual way. So I'll see if I can find that and share it. But yeah, I would love to see a poll where I actually know where like the poll came from.
Yeah.
And see how they gathered that data. Because yeah, I would never have thought, unless we had started with these characters that already exist. We already kind of know their personalities and their skills and abilities in the comics. That informed our decision to like what class would this be? What makes sense? Not the usual way I start with a character.
Yeah.
Well, we have drawn a winner in our giveaway. Alex with 2 X's, 89.
Yay, Alex!
So thank you and congratulations. All you have to do is type claim in the chat and or just send us a private message here on Twitch, a whisper, and we'll get in touch with you about shipping your prizes. Thank you to everybody who's been following along with us in the chat. New comic books, super exciting. We finally have real new releases. Although it's also been a fun time to revisit all of these books that have been out for a little while. So I hope you found something new to enjoy, as well as something brand new to you in your store. Comicshoplocator.com and also indiebound.org can help you find comic shops and bookstores that are open near you. We have a lot of really exciting new Critical Role stuff coming up. I didn't want to belabor it earlier, but we've got the art book coming out, Critical Role, Chronicles of Exandria, the Mighty Nine, will be coming out the first week of June. We've been sharing a lot more info about that, so check out our social for more details and preview pages. We also have issue number 6 of the Critical Role Series 2 comics. This is Vox Machina Origins. So this goes back to before the game was even being streamed, back when it was still a home game. You can see how the adventurers of Vox Machina all came together, and that kind of took place in the first series. Now in the second series, they are trying to save their buddy Grog, gets himself into all kinds of trouble, and they've met Pike and now Percy along the way. So we've got the whole party together at last, and issue 6 wraps up that second arc. So that's available in comic shops also the first week of June. So again, check with your comic shops, see if you haven't already placed a pre-order, you can still do that now, and a lot of them are offering curbside pickup, so check with your local shops. Very exciting time for Critical Role fans. We also have some new Stranger Things coming up when we can announce a new date for issue number 4 of that. We'll definitely announce that as well. So stay tuned for more. Everything's being rescheduled now. Diamond's coming back online. So comics are getting back to the swing of things now. So
yay!
Exciting.
Yay!
And thank you so much to Diana and Emily from Level Up Dice for joining us today, talking about comics and also role-playing games. These characters that we rolled are super fun, and I think we're gonna have to do more. So like I said, we'll share our character sheets online after this. If you guys want to send me yours too, we can have Dark Horse share them on Dark Horse Social. Yeah, and we'll see if we can maybe like get a little game together in the future.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, this is kind of the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And even though we don't have in-person conventions to go to right now, we can do these online things for fun and still get together and see everybody and have some participation with the chat too. Thanks everybody for following along. If you disagree with our choices for our characters, hey, that's how it goes. We might roll some new ones in the future, and you can weigh in. Tell us some more Dark Horse characters that you'd like to see us roll up in a future stream, and we'll see if we can do that. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Diana and Emily from Level Up Dice. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to our new Comic Book Day stream. I hope you have a good rest of your day wherever you are at.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.